Welcome to episode 9 in our beginner guitar series. In this episode, we're going to go over different kinds of notation in music and the pros and cons of each. Let's take a look at some different types of notation that we can use to represent our C scale. Now, this is the exact same C scale that we learned in our video learning about the scale, the arpeggio, and the chords. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. All natural notes, no sharps or flats. So the first and most versatile, but possibly also hardest method is sheet music. And this is a way that we represent notes through their space on what's called the staff. Now, this is a treble clef, and what it can help you do is find a starting note to find your way to the rest of the notes that you need to know. This little circle around the treble clef, highlighting this line, is telling you where G is. So we know that G it's kind of an ugly G, is on this line right there. There's G. So if we count our way from G to where we want to go, we start from G, and I'm going to count downward. So we're going to start on this line, and we go to this space now. So G, F, E on this line, D below the line, and we're going to have to add one more line down here to find our starting note, which is C. So there is C, on a line below the rest of the staff. Now, for a C major scale, it's just going up, note by note, from C to C, all natural notes. So we're going to start on the bottom line. The next note is D, so it's going to be on this space right here, below the line. Our next note is E, so that's going to be on the line right there. Our next note is F. It's going to be in this space between the two lines. Our next note is G. We just keep counting up. Here's G. And now you can see we've landed on this line that the treble clef encircles like this. We've double checked that this is on G. After G, we've got A. So that's just the next note up. After A, we've got B. And we have returned to C. So there's our C major scale with sheet music. But there's even more information that we can get out of sheet music. We can denote rhythm through sheet music. For instance, I could draw a line and show that these are all quarter notes. Just like this. And now, because we have 4 quarter notes, that really should fill up that bar there. So there is half of our scale. And there is the rest. So we can tell rhythm through sheet music as well. And there's lots of other small details that you'll learn when you come across, such as volume or dynamic markings, speed, when you slow down or speed up, anything that you might really need in a song or a piece. Alright, let's take a look at the next form of reading music. This is called tablature or tab. And I've written in the note names here, but all this is our guitar, just like this on the fretboard here, but flipped on its side. Our low E string lines up to this low E string here, our A string there, D string, and so on. So let's write out our tab let's write out our tab for our sheet music, just like we did earlier. So our C, we're going to start on our A string, and I'm going to tell what fret we're playing with the letter 3, because we're going to start on our 3rd fret on our A string. Now for D, we're going to do that open, so I'm going to write a 0 for open. For E, we're going to go 2 on our D string. Let's play that E there. For F, it's up a half step, if you remember, so we need to go to 3. For G, we'll play it open, so we'll do another 0. For A, it's on the 2nd fret on our G string. For B, we'll play it open, we've got a B string. And then our last note is C, which is on the 1st fret of our B string. Now in tab, we can't denote rhythm quite as easily. There are ways that you can do it. It's not super clear, but the main thing that we have is ease to read. We can easily read the frets that we've got here, and we know the order that we play them in because this acts as a sort of timeline, right? We play this note, then that note, then that note, then that note, and so on forward. Now, let's take a look at the last form of reading music that we have here, which is the one that we've been using so far in all of our lessons. And that's just drawing out the fretboard and plotting our notes. So, C, we're going to start on A string and grab C right there. D, we're going to grab open, and I can write out the notes like this, or very commonly, you'll see them done like this with just a dot. Okay? So we have that there, D, and then E is right there, F right here, G is open, A is 2nd fret on our G string, B is open, and then C is just a half step up from B. Yeah, there is our C major scale using the fretboard. Now the thing about this, it's possibly even easier to read than tab, but we don't know the order of the notes that we really play them in. In this case, we're just going up in pitch. But think about for a song that might go up and down, and it might, go backwards after going up. It can go wherever it really wants. We also don't have a way to represent rhythm. So there are 3 forms of reading sheet music, and their pros and cons. Let's take another example of this with the C major chord. Now if you remember, our C major chord consists of the notes C, E, and G. And these are played at the same time in comparison to our C major scale. So instead of the notes being sequential, they'll be stacked on top of each other. So let's do this with sheet music first. We're going to find our C. Now if you remember, this is our G line on this, our note on this line is our G. So we go G, F, E, D, C. Right here. And there's our C. And hold on, let me do this in whole notes because I want this to take up the whole bar. Okay. So you have our C there. And if we're thinking about this on the fretboard, I'll do this sort of in conjunction. Our C is on the 3rd fret there. Now our next note, we want our E. And we're going to go C, D, E, right up there. On the fretboard, we would have D, E, right there. The next note that we have is G, E, F, G. And now these work out quite well. We have it open right here. Because when we play it on the guitar, C, E, and G are in sequential order like that. For other chords, it might not be in this same order. The next note that we have is C. And that one is right up here. G, A, B, C. It's a bit of a squashed C. Then this is on our B string on the 1st fret. The last note that we have is C, D, E, up there. On our fretboard, that's just our open E. This is our C major chord on sheet music. Let's do this now with tab. And we can think about it, remember, if we just take this fretboard and tilt it. So for our C on our A string, it's our 3rd fret. For our E, we're on D string, 2nd fret. For our G, that's just open G, 0. Our C is 1st fret, B string, and finally, our E is open. So this is a C major chord in tab. This is a quick example of sheet music, tab, and the fretboard.